The moment Officer Brent Carlson yanked the sapphire bracelet from Rachel Donovan's hands, the temperature in the room dropped. "That's not yours," he barked, his voice sharp enough to cut glass. Around them, the elegant hush of Davison's fine jewelry fractured into awkward silence. Customers paused mid-conversation, salespeople froze beside gleaming display cases, and the ceiling's polished chandeliers seemed to sway under the sudden weight of accusation. Rachel stood perfectly still, purse still on her shoulder, her face painted in equal parts disbelief and shock. She hadn't expected this. No one would. Her hand instinctively gripped her cardigan tighter, not to protect herself from the officer, but to ground herself in the moment. What the officer didn't know, what none of the customers knew, was that the man behind the men's watch counter wasn't just a quiet employee. He wasn't there to polish bezels or realign bracelet clasps. His name was Daniel Donovan, and he wasn't just Rachel's husband. He was the chief of police, working undercover, and he had just witnessed his wife being set up. That morning had begun like any other weekend. Rachel had dressed in a pale gray cardigan and a soft white blouse, her blonde hair neatly brushed into a professional bob. At 42, she carried herself with the warmth of a seasoned third-grade teacher and the wisdom of a woman who had spent years believing in people even when they didn't deserve it. "I could come with you," Daniel had offered from his study, where case files were strewn across his desk like autumn leaves. Rachel smiled softly. "It's just a bracelet, Dan. Carol's retiring after 30 years. We're all pitching in to get her something nice." Daniel's brow furrowed as he stepped into the hallway. "Davison's has been acting strange lately. I've gotten complaints from 3 different customers in the last 6 months, items gone missing, charges disputed. Every incident was handled by the same patrol officer." "Let me guess. Your new guy from Midtown?" "Carlson," Daniel confirmed. "Transferred in 6 months ago. Something about him doesn't sit right with me." Rachel's eyes twinkled. "And you're going undercover?" Daniel nodded. "He hasn't seen me since he arrived. I've been working from the North Precinct. This way, I see how he operates without tipping him off." Rachel kissed him on the cheek. "I'll keep a straight face if I see you near the diamond rings." By the time Rachel arrived at the jewelry store nestled between the designer boutiques in Riverstone Plaza, the sun was high. Her modest sedan looked out of place between black Lexuses and electric Porsches, but she hardly noticed. She took a deep breath and stepped inside. The store welcomed her with the cool hum of luxury. Glass counters gleamed, velvet displays shimmered, and the scent of expensive wood polish clung to the air like perfume. She adjusted her purse and approached the sapphire collection, remembering Carol's fondness for bluestones. "Can I help you?" asked a man behind the counter. His name tag read Henry Davison, the store owner. His polite smile didn't reach his eyes as he took in Rachel's sensible shoes and modest jewelry. "I'm looking for a retirement gift," Rachel said cheerfully. "Something with sapphires." Davison opened a case and removed a delicate bracelet encrusted with oval sapphires and white gold. 14 genuine stones, diamond accents. "This piece retails for $8,500. Rachel blinked. The budget from the teacher's pool was around $3,000. "It's beautiful," she said, gently. "But maybe something simpler?" Davison's smile faltered. "Of course. Not everyone understands fine jewelry." As he returned the bracelet, the store's bell chimed. A tall officer entered, uniform immaculate, hair cropped short. Rachel watched as Davison perked up instantly. "Officer Carlson," Davison called out with far more enthusiasm than he'd shown her. "Right on time." Carlson's eyes swept the store like a shark cruising for prey. When his gaze landed on Rachel, something in his expression changed. He walked slowly toward the bracelet counter. Rachel had just picked out a smaller piece, a slender silver band with a single sapphire, when she felt his presence behind her. "I'll take this one," she told Davison. He ran her card, boxed the bracelet, and handed her the receipt with a stiff nod. Rachel turned to leave, but Carlson blocked her path. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to check your purse." Rachel blinked. "Excuse me. We've had a rash of thefts. Just a routine search." Too stunned to resist, Rachel opened her purse. Carlson reached in and pulled out the expensive bracelet she had rejected, still sparkling and pristine. Her heart stopped. "That's not mine. I gave it back." Carlson held it aloft like a trophy. "Then explain why it's in your bag." Davison stepped forward. I knew she looked off when she came in. Rachel's cheeks burned. I'm a teacher, not a thief. I returned that bracelet. You have the right to remain silent, Carlson began, pulling out his cuffs. Behind them, the quiet man at the watch counter turned slightly, his eyes hardening. As Rachel was led out of the store in handcuffs, Daniel fought the instinct to reveal himself. He had to be careful. He had already suspected Carlson of working with Davison to orchestrate a string of fraudulent thefts, and now he had just watched the scheme in action, only this time it was personal. When the patrol car pulled away, Daniel slipped into the manager's office, bypassed the login screens on the surveillance system, and downloaded everything, except it wasn't enough. He'd come prepared. Hidden throughout the store were 4 button-sized cameras he'd placed earlier that day. They had captured everything. Davison slipping the bracelet into Rachel's bag while directing her attention to a nearby display. The nod between him and Carlson moments before the arrest, and Rachel's stunned, honest reaction. Daniel pressed a number on his burner phone. Activate internal sweep. Suspects are live. Evidence secured. They went after my wife. Meanwhile, at the precinct, Rachel sat in a sterile interview room, the accusation echoing in her mind like a drum. She refused to cry. Instead, she replayed every second of the encounter, convinced there had to be a way to prove her innocence. The door opened. A calm, middle-aged woman in a dark blazer stepped inside. Mrs. Donovan, she said. I'm Lieutenant Clarissa Torres. You're free to go. Rachel blinked. What? There's been a development, Torres said, folding her arms. Officer Carlson has been relieved of duty. Mr. Davison is in custody. Turns out, you walked into the middle of a long-running insurance fraud scheme. The door opened again. Daniel entered. Dan. Rachel whispered. What's happening? I've been investigating Carlson for weeks, he said. And today, we got the evidence we needed. You weren't the target, Rachel. You were the key. Back at the jewelry store, Davison had been let out in handcuffs just hours after Rachel. Customers gawked as the news broke on local stations. The footage Daniel provided, both the store's altered video and his hidden angles, told a clear story. The bracelet had been planted, and Rachel had been framed. Carlson, meanwhile, was arrested en route to his apartment. Officers intercepted him at a traffic stop, where he was served with a warrant and taken into custody without incident. At the station, he refused to speak without a lawyer. Over the next several days, headlines tore through the community. Police chief's wife framed in jewel heist hoax, read one. Corrupt cop and store owner caught in $250,000 insurance scheme, read another. 7 other victims came forward, their stories almost identical to Rachel's. Charges against Rachel were dropped before they were ever filed. Her name was cleared, and a formal apology was issued by the mayor himself. At Daniel's insistence, she stayed out of the public eye while the investigation expanded. 2 weeks later, Rachel returned to her classroom. The kids, unaware of the ordeal, welcomed her back with hand-drawn cards and stories about their pets and siblings. During a lesson on fairness, a student raised his hand. Mrs. Donovan, do bad guys always get caught? Rachel smiled softly. Sometimes they don't. But when good people speak up, we make it harder for bad things to hide. Behind her, a drawing hung from the wall. A smiling woman in a cardigan, standing in front of a group of children, surrounded by stars and hearts. It simply read, "The best teacher ever." Later that evening, Rachel sat on the back porch with Daniel. The stars were bright. The air was still. I can't believe how close they got, she whispered. They picked the wrong woman, Daniel said. They thought you were just another easy mark. But you weren't. Rachel reached over and took his hand. No, she said. I was the lesson. And sometimes, that's all it takes, a quiet voice, a teacher's patience, and the unwavering love of someone who knows the truth to turn injustice into a reckoning.